way.
Alrighty, I'll call the meeting of the Deerfield Elementary School Committee to order at 6:01 p.m. First order of business, welcome everyone. First order of business is to review and approve the minutes of October 10th, 2024. I actually did have something I want to clarify on the minutes. On the unfinished business, the last item on the homeschool policy, top of the second page, it says Mary made a motion, and after some discussion, it was determined that no vote would take place and the motion was removed. I think what happened was Mary rescinded her motion, and then no further motion was made.
Yes, I think you're right.
It was a very confusing
I know,
time.
and I really hate to drag it out further
I mean,
and even bring it up.
Can you point to where you're referencing on the?
It's at the top of page 2, the paragraph italics. So I would just like to propose that we take out the sentence that starts after some discussion. There.
Okay.
We replace it with Ms. Raymond retracted her motion, no further motion was made, and then leave the sentence, the current IHBG policy remains in place. Just if we'd made a motion, we would have taken a vote.
Right.
Just want to leave the
Gotcha.
record straight.
Wait, can you tell me that wording one more
Yeah.
time?
I have it written here. Ms. Raymond retracted her
My
motion,
name.
no further motion was made. And I would strike out the sentence after some discussion.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Do we have to?
Yeah, so I would move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Sorry, it's not great. Okay. All right.
Got it.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, financial statement and warrants. Shelley?
Okay. 11 warrants were signed electronically since the last meeting, totaling $144,289.24. I emailed you the expense reports. I'm happy to take any questions. I wanted to make a couple of comments. One on the school choice report, there are 2 lines that are maintenance related that are over budget. One of those is related to the mini splits, and we have a rebate coming back on that, so that'll go directly back into that account. So that'll wipe out, that's, I believe, the 17,000. The 14,000 is the placeholder that we have in, I believe, to finish the walkway out back where we have to have the ramp installed there. So that will be an actual expense, but there's no concern about school choice funds at this point. We have adequate budget. And the comment I want to make about general fund is that I'm currently reviewing teacher salaries and wages with the payroll department. There's an overage in one line and then a budget that has like 80,000 available in another. And we did have some leave of absence that's going to free up some money because staff didn't have the full leave paid, but I'm just still kind of working on those numbers. So if those look a little funny, that's some explanation for you. And we'll continue to work that out. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything that we haven't already talked about as overages in the general fund, but we're in good shape. We have almost 500,000 left to get through the end of the year, so no concerns.
Thank you. All right, any no further questions or comments on that? Move on. Next up is the principal's report.
Yeah, so I shared that with you. A couple things I just wanted to highlight is that our student ambassadors, which are our 5th and 6th grade students that kind of go through a rigorous process, and they do a lot of leadership at our school. They've just started a peer buddy program, and they had their debut on Math and Science Day where they work with younger students and helping them to access the activities. So it's just a program that helps create meaningful bonds with students with and without disabilities. So that was new and exciting. We're working to build that. We had Math and Science Day, so I just want to give a shout out to all the volunteers that made that happen. And it's an amazing day, packed with so many presenters, and students were just busy engineering and learning about all sorts of things. And then we had our pond transformation, among other things, so you guys take a peek at it in the sunlight, which you'd have to get here before 4, so. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dina. Alright, next up we have public comment. Any comment? Okay. Alright, no comment. Moving on to the playground update. What's going on with the playground?
So, sure. So, last night we went before the CPC committee. I guess we were under the expectation there would be some discussion regarding our proposal. Instead, it was just a rescheduling of another meeting. Now that'll take place in December, on December 4th. One thing we did learn also in that meeting is they shared with us the amount of money that they have, and it is far below what I was told informally off the cuff from people in the town, and that they're at 71,000 for open space and another 46,000 for, I forget where I was coming from, but about 117,000 for open space, and then 299,000 for any other project that could be added on. So there are a couple other groups looking for much smaller amounts of money as well. So the idea of this paying for the lion's share of the whole project is probably not realistic. I started to look at, I'll present my, I'm not on, I'll log in real quick so I can present my screen, but looking at those numbers, well, actually so brief, whatever. Looking at the numbers, I think what we can do is decrease our ask. And I don't know if it's gonna be a discussion, because I don't know if CPC will work, if they want a polished budget in front of them, or they'll work with us. Since the idea is that we're trying to reduce the amount. So we have the 3 phases to remind everyone. We have the K-4 playground, we have the pre-K playground, and then we have the area of the basketball court, which we said would be an add-on. Priority-wise, I think the K-4 playground should be done first. It houses the most students, and we're going to get the most bang for our buck on it. Although the pre-K playground visually looks worse. But it'll be servicing the most amount of students and looking at the ADA needs to cover 5 grades is probably more important than 1 grade if we're going to look at, again, priorities. That cost of that playground, again, the rough estimate of that was $386,000. And so if we go to CPA with the request of, let's say, $200,000, the school would have to then figure out how to come up with $186,000. That number partly, we could look at choice, we could look at even putting a warrant on and do a combined kind of approach, or do a triple approach, apply some choice, some warrant, some CPA, and looking at, how do we could also tighten up the project itself. When I use the word tighten, make it sound like it's loose. See if the town can come in and do portions of that. Will that affect bidding? I did have a conversation with Chris Miller, with the DPW. He said that is something they could come in and do it probably rather quickly. The question is, how would that affect the bidding of a job where someone comes in and they lose a big portion of the labor cost there, which is probably obviously the big portion of the profit margin. So, still it could be done. We also are talking with the town regarding ADA grants and what's happening there. We tried that in Sunderland and had no luck. There was no money available for ADA for the Sunderland playground, or additional ones in Sunderland looked harder than Conway, but Conway also did, and there was nothing that was really available. But we can look into it a little bit harder, and that could come off the school side of that. So, the meeting's in December, so I kind of reacting off of last night, that's kind of what I plan to move forward. I don't know what the appetite of the committee will be to have very little left in their account. They spent a ton on the 1888 building, and I believe the library before that, right? So between, I'm not sure about the library, but they spent a lot of the money already up. So so I don't know where we're headed on that.
The other thing is that this is a very heavy material cost. So between the playground equipment and the rubber surfacing, like that's probably what?
The rubber surfacing is
It's like
152.
3/4,
Well, yeah, no, it's definitely over.
Yeah,
three
it's
quarters.
the majority of the project. So there's really not going to be a ton of wiggle room to save money because the equipment is super expensive. We can buy it ourselves so that we don't have to pay a markup to a contractor. So we'll do that. But the rubber surfacing has to be done by a certified playground installer. So there's not going to be a ton of wiggle room.
Yep.
What, you mentioned something about talking with the town about ADA grants. What is that? Have you heard anything different than our last meeting around that, or?
Yeah, I got a note yesterday, actually, right before the meeting. And as you know, they're kind of in flux over there. And he just mentioned that they will look into, there could be possibility of that, but again, it wasn't, and that came from Chris Dunn. But I don't know of any. So they would say the school is not part of the ADA assessment in the town. They would have to add the school on. And then there was a cost to do that, of between $10,000 and $20,000. And so I didn't really know what he was talking about. I had to kind of catch up with him on that. But I received that yesterday before the meeting. So I don't know more about that.
Does
So,
Sunderland have a town planner?
No.
And does Conway have a town planner?
No.
I guess I'm holding out hope that maybe
Yeah.
someone who like is a professional at this may have a different angle. I have no idea, but
Right.
it's nice that
Right.
he responded at least.
So I think the way to go is that, we're going to, go to the CPA for a set amount, and then the other amount that, we have to come up with is going to kind of be the wiggle room in the sense of, can we get grants to lower that? In the end, if you're someone watching, it's about the taxpayer, right? So that, wherever we save money from one pot or another, there's savings to the town. Because both are coming either from, I look at CPA, we all pay, as a Deerfield resident, we all pay taxes to that for projects like this. And so, going to a committee that's overseeing that is all fine, but that's the whole purpose of CPA money, is to pull money aside so you don't have to go to warrant every single time for projects like that. And to be able to offset that kind of cost to the town, where the other way we would go is go to a full warrant. I mean, if we didn't have the CPA, we'd go to the town for $300,000. And that then they would have to figure out how to come up with that. The select board would figure out whether they pull it from free cash or whatever they want to pay for it. So us coming up with a strategic way to lower the cost to the taxpayer and effect on the town coming from different pockets, I think is probably a smart approach. We do it all the time in how we fund other things in the school. We pull from different accounts. We spread things over multiple years. We've done it in different towns for different projects. So to me, it makes sense. So we'll see if that committee will buy into that train of thought. And so I'm also presenting tonight for your train of thought too, and your thoughts on it, and and such. I did also, they asked for a recommendation from the rec committee, outside the recommendation from that Carrie wrote. And so I did send a letter. I talked to somebody on the committee. They received the letter. They forwarded it to everybody on the committee, but they have not met to take any action on anything since that letter was sent about 3 weeks ago. So the other applicant that was there was also waiting on a letter from the rec committee as well.
All right.
Questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I guess we'll just wait and see.
What's
We'll
that?
just wait and see.
It is, it's wait and see. I mean, it is. I mean, we enter the project, come in big, and then reduce, don't reduce, and then come in, kind of deal. I have other ideas within the project. I think the add-alt could be done. We could break that up as well, and we could get the asphalt done by the town, or get it as part of this project. That around the basketball courts, I think, is in worse shape than the swing set. So we could leave the swing sets alone, and then just take care of the asphalt around the basketball hoops. And That would be a huge improvement for a small cost. And so that number, that add alt, could also come down. So, just playing around with that. I think these numbers were estimated high. Shelley corrected that sometimes some of the other estimates that came from Berkshire Design were estimated low. So,
I also think what happens is, this quote was from originally, I think, the summer.
Yep.
And by the time that we're putting this to bid, it's at a minimum 9 months later, if
Right,
not.
right.
So,
is rubber up or down?
yeah, exactly.
All right.
Right.
See. Thank you. All right, next order of business is the CPAC annual report presentation. Ashley or Holly, if you're out there, welcome.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Holly Johnson, the co-chair of the CPAC. I'm here to give our annual report. This is based on last year's numbers. We decided to do our annual report for the previous year at the beginning of the next year. We felt it was kind of getting lost in June. Thank you for adding us to the agenda tonight. As you may know, this in the state of Massachusetts, each school district has to have a Special Education Parent Advisory Council, or CPAC, and our duties include advising the school committee on matters that pertain to the education and safety of students with disabilities, and evaluating the special education programming and provide feedback. The CPAC has submitted a copy of our full annual report to all school committee members, I believe, about a month and a half ago. I'm just here to give a summary of the report and answer any questions you may have. We always want to thank all the administrators, teachers, related service providers, and IAs in our district for their dedication to our students. Last year, we held a variety of meetings, business meetings with administrators, connection meetings that provide CPAC updates, answer questions from families, and provide emotional support. We had family picnics where we helped families and students to connect to peers in other schools. The Federation for Children with Special Needs provided a presentation on understanding the IEP. We also had family support group meetings every month. During these support groups, through our monthly newsletter, emails, and our private Facebook group, we help families by answering special education questions, connecting families with each other, giving referral information on services and specialists within the community, and sharing local events. Would also like to thank the Special Education Department for financially supporting our Zoom subscription. Most of our meetings continue to be over Zoom, and our MassPAC membership, and that membership gives us the opportunity to have a trained special education advocate provide a basic rights workshop on understanding the IEP. We gathered data from each school. Deerfield had 82 IEP students, which made up approximately 26% of the total student population. There were 8 special education teachers for a student-to-teacher ratio of 9:1. Of the 82 IEP students, 12 were school choice students coming into our district. 1 homeschool student, 1 private school student, and 1 pre-K student just receiving services. And they had 1 out-of-district placement. We reviewed the district policies and procedures, gathered state data, talked to administrators throughout the year, used family reports, and the district survey data when we created our report. The BSEA is a state agency that helps with the IEP development process. This year, our district had 10 rejected IEPs. That's district-wide. The BSEA does not record data for individual schools. DESE handles complaints that allege a school is not meeting legal requirements for education through the Problem Resolution System, or PRS. This is a process in which families, staff, or community members can bring attention to special education violations within the past year. PRS investigates claims and determines whether a school is in compliance or non-compliance with the law. Last year, PRS reported that there were 2 complaints filed. This year, as we do most years, we collaborated with Karen Ferrandino to create a district-wide survey that was sent out on Parent Square. Last year, we got only 32 respondents, which is only about 11% of the IEP families, and only 1 504 family responded. That's down significantly from the previous year. In our role as a CPAC, we are not able to determine the accuracy of family concerns. Our job is to support families, educate them about their rights, and advocate for systemic changes based on what is brought to our attention. In addition to survey results, we include concerns brought directly to CPAC from families throughout the year. When concerns have been raised multiple times by multiple families, we feel they need the attention of administration and school committees. This past year, we added a bullying question to the survey. And in addition to the responses to our survey questions, we heard nearly a dozen complaints about bullying for the school year brought directly to CBAC. Also, at the district's absenteeism meeting, bullying was mentioned as a cause of high absenteeism rates. It's concerning that the survey showed respondents were more likely to feel uncomfortable reporting bullying to the schools after they had already reported an incident. Preventing bullying is a component of the IEP, and we have concerns that this component could use some improvement. Overall, family engagement was down, as I mentioned. Every year, families say that communication has improved, and they say they want communication to improve. So I think that it is steadily improving, and families still want more communication. They want more training so they can actively participate in their child's IEP and 504 plan. Families report that they have a difficult time transitioning between preschool to kindergarten and 6 to 7, which we hear that every year. Those are difficult transitions. We continue to recommend professional development for all teachers and staff on the Frontier Regional Union 38 School District Special Education Procedures Manual, and that this document is distributed to parents, special education teachers, related service providers, and instructional assistants on a yearly basis. We also recommend that the district creates and distributes an IEP timeline cheat sheet to parents and special education teachers on a yearly basis. We think that the CPAC information could be made more readily available to families. Currently, it's hard to find CPAC on the website, and we would like to partner with the district to increase outreach to families, especially letting them know when we're holding trainings. We also recommend that all administrators, special education, and related service providers attend comprehensive professional development on the stress that families of students with disabilities experience and how to best engage and collaborate with these families. The district-wide anti-racism and equity initiative continue to include a variety of minority populations, continue to work on including students with disabilities. We recommend all staff and administrators receive training around the bullying policy, restorative justice, the use of the district's procedures, and how to make families more comfortable reporting bullying to the school. We would like to partner with the district in creating a plan to ensure IEPs properly address the bullying issues, and we also recommend that families are made aware of the district's bullying policies, reporting procedures, and who to contact for counseling. Deerfield had a 15% response rate, about 12 families, and results were mostly positive. The parents liked the staff, and they liked their streamlined IEP meetings. Again, negatives include communication, just an improvement on communication. We recommend getting more data on how the school can improve its communication with the families, and we would like to partner with the school to increase awareness of CPAC and hopefully get better responses to this year's survey. We actually already had a chance to meet with Tina and some folks from the school, and we're already putting that plan in motion. We distributed the flyer, and we had a great meeting, and I think that we're on the road to get more survey results this year, which would be great. I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate hearing about the survey results, especially over time, how the answers are changing. Questions? Regarding families being able to easily access information on CPAC, being easy to find on the website seems like it should be an easy fix.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. And we did create a flyer and had some ideas on how to get the flyer out to families more.
All right. Any questions, comments? All right. Thank you very much, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night. All right. All right. Next up, FY26 budget.
So we're in the earliest stages of budget development. Tina has submitted a template of requests, needs, wants, whether that's salaries, supplies, materials, facilities related, anything that she thinks that we need additional funding for. And then we have scheduled, the three of us, a meeting coming up first week of December to go over the first draft. I've started building the first draft. So this one's gonna be tricky because we're in negotiations and we don't necessarily know what we're gonna settle on and when we're gonna settle. So it could be a little bit challenging budget season, but I just wanted you to know we're in the works in the early stages. So you'll see a first draft hopefully in January.
All right. Thank you very much for all that hard work. All right. The MOU on the new sick leave bank amendment. Derek, can you walk us through that?
Sure. So you received a copy of the amendment. What occurred was the association came to me at last spring, at the end of last spring, and asked if we could do an amendment to the agreement regarding the sick bank. And they really wanted to have something in place for this school year because they felt it needed to be addressed sooner than later than waiting for the next collective bargaining, which is undergoing now. But so this is for this year. But basically, it's a big change in the sense that the old sick bank, you would apply to the bank, and basically you were applying to ask staff to donate days. This is a true bank where the days are actually going to be put in advance, and then the committee, the sick bank committee, which is made up of school committee members and association members, would be the gatekeepers of that. If you go, when you read through, you can see all the different language that's put in there. I think when you look at this is something that's in the contract that's a benefit to our staff, and if they want it to work better, I think it's in our best interest to have a contract that works well, and parts of the contract that especially a benefit that works well for them, and the last one wasn't. So this was a great working group. It took a couple times to meet and kind of just hammered out this. And so the idea is this will be in place this year and then be negotiated into the current agreement, the current negotiations for the next agreement. So I guess I'll take any questions on it, or if I missed anything.
Do you want to clarify who was in the working group?
Sure.
Or not names, but just like it was like, it was a member from each bargaining unit.
Right.
I
So
was on it.
each committee sent somebody, and so as well as the association, and it was a good warm up, I thought, to negotiations. In the sense that and it was something that to do that in negotiations is also there was a lot of back and figuring it out together. What's the best way to work? So it was nice to get it done that way.
I will say there was also a couple of times going back and forth with the lawyer just to make sure that everything seemed right in terms of legalities.
This has been reviewed by council and approved, so approved for your approval.
And just the experience Mary and I had, because we were a part of the sick leave subcommittee, all these committees, and the previous policy was like a little bit vague. I think the intention was there, but it was vague, and so as a committee, we were like in charge of approving or not approving, and because of that vagueness, it felt kind of tricky in some ways. So this is like 4 times as long, but more clear, and I would imagine maybe employees donating to the sick bank maybe would feel better about the language in there. So.
Yeah, I was happy to see these changes. I know the old policy was in need of an overhaul. This was good. I did have a question of clarification. So I'm looking at Unit C, and it says there's a maximum of 50 days in the sick leave bank. Every employee is putting in 1 day at the beginning of the year, I think. How many employees are there total across the district? Of Unit C?
In Unit C, I mean, at most, it's probably, I don't think it's more than 80.
Yeah.
It's probably
So-
around 80.
But if everyone's putting in 1 day,
But they have an option to opt out.
so we're assuming not everyone will do it.
I wouldn't think it.
It's Unit C has more turnover than Unit A,
Yeah.
and so
Okay.
people who may or may not be in their first or second year may not see the benefit of that, or want
Yeah.
to give up the day, or do those kind of things. So,
I was just curious. The maximum number seemed low to me, but I assume the people working on this have figured out the logistics. And
There's also more specific language around catastrophic illness or injury, which is kind of key.
Which is not there before, yes.
Right, so there's maybe it kind of like narrows the type of situation that might come across the sick leave link.
And the threshold, just so I understand this correctly, the mid-year deduction, so at the beginning of the year, the pool will be, everything will be collected, and then if there is high usage and it falls below 50, there would be a return to the staff to put up to one additional day into the pool to reimburse it, but no more than
If
no more than-
needed, though,
If
we're not
needed.
just gonna ask for it just to refill it. If someone came and needed to access it and we didn't have enough days to fulfill that request, then the committee could consider a second.
But the
addition.
maximum in a year an employee would have to, if they're opted in, would be 2. That would be the,
It just says a mid-year deduction may be
Yeah,
necessary, so
and that would, I mean, that would,
up to 1 mid-year deduction.
up
Right.
to one, yeah.
and so at that point, I mean, that would be far exceed anything that we've ever had in the past. And, you know, it'd be a really unfortunate year if there was that many catastrophic things going on. But, yeah, at that point, the committee, it'd be, it can't answer all things, you know what I mean? The policy, not the policy, but the MOU can't answer all things in the sense of, what if you had 10 people, you know, that, and we won't have enough days, you know what I mean? And then we wouldn't be able to answer their problems through the contract.
It helps from a communication standpoint. It's like those out-of-pocket expenses for healthcare where you know you're capped at a threshold. And so just knowing that it's 2 at most.
And also for,
But-
if we did have to do a second deduction, there's also a line in there that if an employee has 5 days or less, that they won't have that second deduction.
That's great.
I have 2 questions. What does how many sick days do they get currently in their contract?
Unit A gets 15
15,
and
yeah.
Unit C gets 10.
And is there a stipulation after a certain amount of time in the district they can get paid for them upon retirement?
Upon, yes, in the contract, they do. There's a, depending on where they are on a certain day of entering the contract, there's a payout thing, so very difficult to explain
No.
without it in front
Yeah,
of you.
that's okay.
In
I was
front of
just,
you
it
as
was,
well,
I didn't need it. I just,
Take a look.
okay, thank you. I'll check it out today.
Any other questions
Thank
on
you.
that? All right, well, yeah, this looks great. Good work, everyone's involved.
You have to
So is
vote.
this in
You-
place?
We do have,
Oh,
okay.
So remember, it's not a
So it's not
policy,
like
it's
a first
it's not a
read and then
policy,
vote,
it's
it's
an
like a-
MOU, so you're gonna vote on the one thing, it's not, doesn't fall under your policy.
Was there anything we are voting on this?
You
Or
are
we-
voting
yeah,
on
okay.
it.
All right.
It's right. Just to clarify, so your policy, you have a policy about voting policies that you will do a first reading and then a vote, because it's an ongoing policy for the district. This is an MOU with the association, which can be done immediately without, it's not considered a double read. It's the business of the committee.
Can we take them together, the 2 MOUs?
Yeah, you can do it. It's-
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the 2 MOUs for new sick bank leave for amendment for Unit A and C contracts?
So moved.
Thank you, Mary.
seconded.
There's no further discussion. All in favor? 5-0, thank you.
So Carrie, you'll get a copy of the sign.
Okay.
Jen sent it.
Alrighty, school improvement plan.
So, you have the school improvement plan in front of you, and sorry, it copied like this. So it's front and back, but you have to flip it over. We have, let's see, it went through staff, it started with ILT, went through staff and, through our school council so that we could get representative from families, educators. So we have 3 goals: education, programming, curriculum and instruction, culture, and community relations. I think it's interesting to highlight, if you look at the last bottom of community relations on task for completion, we're looking at supporting the transition from pre-K to K. So we are taking information that we're getting from, CPAC and just our families in general. Lots of things here that are already things that you're hearing about, the initiatives that are happening in the school, and of course there's a lot more that's going on. This is a year-long plan, so our timeline for this is within a year, and we added progress monitoring so you can see, or we can see, how we're doing along the way.
And is this our first read of this?
No, but
Thank you,
again,
both.
single, it's not a
Okay.
policy.
So we're gonna-
So it's developed by school council and then goes to school committee for approval.
All right. All right. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts? All right. Then I'd be looking for a motion to approve the school improvement plan for 2024, 2025. Or we can take 10 more minutes. Don't want to rush
Like
it.
just a minute.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The Culture and Behavior Committee, was that the group we had a report from at the end of last year?
Just a little bit of a random question. Maybe it's like kind of oddly specific, but I just remember Laura talking about summer school and how there was like an idea of maybe thinking about it in a less traditional way as a way to sort of like bring some students kind of up as we were talking about scores and things like that. I know that's not like specifically listed here, at least what I can see, but you know, is that sort of also on the horizon as part of an improvement?
We are still talking about it, yeah. We have no plans in place yet,
Okay.
but we're still considering like different ideas about how to get, I guess, more intensive focused and intentional services in place too. So we're still talking about it. You really can't put everything in a school improvement plan. You know,
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
yeah.
encompass every single thing.
yeah.
Is everyone ready? One more time.
I'll make a motion to approve the school improvement plan.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yes, sorry.
Does that mean we vote?
Yeah, I mean, we can further discuss or we can vote.
Okay.
But sorry, I'm not rushing you, am I?
No discussion from
Okay.
my perspective.
Alrighty. In that case, all in favor of the school improvement plan? Thank you. Alrighty, reports. As your delegate, I wrote up a report, the delegate session from the conference. Just very briefly, our resolution on rural schools passed with with only very minor votes against. There's an MCAS resolution that obviously the resolution was written and submitted before question 2 was approved last week. So that resolution was amended to be a little less forceful. It didn't feel like it was necessary to call for moratorium. There was a resolution on fully adjusting Chapter 70 aid to account for inflation, and that got a strengthening amendment on the floor. Just more clarification, more timelines on that one. Everything else passed. And as always, I really enjoyed going to the conference. It's really a valuable experience. I recommend it to anyone. Took a number of good sessions, came away with a lot of good ideas. Well, did you want to add anything about the conference?
I was really impressed with the conference. I thought there was a lot of it was a lot of perspectives and just a lot of great sessions that, as a newcomer, I was able to really get a footing on what's happening. So I would second those thoughts that if folks have an opportunity to take part next year, it's well worth it. I plan on attending. Okay.
Great. Thanks. All right. Collaborative? I think there's not been a meeting.
Collaborative is not that.
Okay, great. Superintendent's report?
No formal report, but I just wanted 2 updates. We did have Lynn Lyons come last night. We had about 100 people in attendance, just under 100, I think. So it was a fairly good turnout. She does an amazing job of just talking about anxiety and a parent's role in working with their teens through anxiety and causes and strategies and such. And when we talked about, we heard from CPAC, this is part of the district's response to doing more social emotional awareness, doing outreach to parents. Lynn Lyons is probably the best that you can bring in a school district our size, and even and such. And she also did a programming today with the secondary with Frontier. I sat in on that as well. It's very similar to the parent programming in the sense of what the messaging was, but through the lens of how teachers can be helpful to students who are working through anxiety. She also has her message in there as well about not enabling anxiety, but working with strategies to, that's kind of her baseline message, is that don't enable somebody who's having anxiety issues by giving them crutches, alone. Crutches are needed for certain times, but really to build skills to get around anxiety so that they can conquer that in life. So it was really good, and she'll be returning in January to work with our Unit 38 teachers and staff, and I think you will enjoy it, or at least you will enjoy it. I also just wanted to kind of update that our strategic plan survey did go out this week as well, and so we'll be collecting that data as well. We did complete the coffees and conversations at Deerfield. We had a great one. Small turnouts overall, but it's what I kind of expected. 2, 3, 4 people at each building, and just a great conversation. And Tina sat in on it as well. We had it was good insight on different things, and so again we'll be compiling that data along with the survey data and everything else that we can gather to develop the strategic plan that we'll be reporting back to you. All right, that's all I got.
All right. Thank you very much.
The survey looks good. I was able to dive into it last night, and it's got a lot of good angles to it.
Yeah, thanks. We did do the survey. We did run it by I can't think of the name of the group.
CMSI.
What's that?
Was it CMSI?
Yes, CMSI. We did run it by. We did send our draft to CMSI. They made some minor edits to it, but they thought it looked good as well. So we had a third-party CMSIs who did our equity audit. So we did have a third-party group look at it just to make sure that it wasn't blatantly biased in any way. And it was up to, they do a lot of surveying and collecting data from districts, so they thought it was very good. So just when people know that, and let's say it out loud, it's not just kind of created behind the scenes by two 2 people in a smoky room.
I guess my only concern with this survey is if there's, it's a lot of reading and writing involved, and if there's any barriers to families. So I don't know what considerations could go into those accessibility components, but just a food for thought there.
That's a good point. In some parts, it's confusing when you have to the rank order one. I was kind of like,
I was thinking for a minute.
it made me think of it. At the end of that, I was like, oh, I wonder if it doesn't frustrate people.
But all in all, the questions seem well-rounded, so.
All right. That's what we've got on the agenda, so I'd either like to make a motion to adjourn. Or you wanna stay here? All in favor?
Aye.
That's 5 minutes, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned at 6:46.